Hi and welcome to the best thing you watched this week with the best thing we watched this week. Hopefully this is the best thing you watched this week and my tongue-tiedness will eventually sort itself out. And while we're sorting ourselves out, thank you so much for tuning in once again. If this is your first time, this is a weekly podcast that Chris from Movies and Munchies and myself from Ruby. Oh, wow. I feel like you should just start my brain again for the whole day, really. Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday, we do weekly in a collaboration of the best thing we watched, whether it's streaming or movies, or different like games, books. It depends what's like in our minds, how we watched it. And then for entertainment news, we do entertainment news in our podcast section wherever you listen to podcasts. And so I'm sure that has many platforms. I keep hearing of new ones cropping up now and again, Chris, like just some random person's like, have you joined this podcast platform? Like, no, I've got 10 others. But wherever you do that, we'll be on there. Thank you so much if you're joining us for that extra specialness. And talking about extra specialness, our Patreon has started. And I believe we have a couple of Patrons there now, which is very exciting. Thank you so much for joining us there. This week's special video is going to be the top 5, well, our top 5 time travel films. We've ranked them, so if you want to get in on that action and let us know your top 5 time travel films, we'll be talking it there. There's a place where you can message us. If you want to message us privately, you can do it via email on either of our YouTube places, or you can just jump in on the best thing we watched on Twitter. There are many places where you can contact us, even in this video right here, wherever you're watching it from. So that is a lot of news. We will put the links and descriptions of things going on with us. We've got a lot going on, but it's fun. So this is generally just podcast and what we like going on this week. So hello, Chris.
Hello, Ruben. How are you?
I'm learning to speak.
Hey, well, hey, talking is hard sometimes.
For me, a lot of times.
Yeah, well, see, I will use the excuse because where I'm at, it's early in the morning. So we'll just say that it's early in the morning for you, and you're just, your mouth is waking up, and nobody has to know that it's actually in the evening where you're at, and, we won't tell them that.
Yeah, getting there. No, don't tell them that. So before we start... you got something to ask us?
I have a question. I do. Okay. Now this, I'm excited by this one. It may take a little bit of noodling, but if humans came with a warning label, what would yours say?
Wow. It's a good one. It's a good question. I know immediately on some other people, like what warnings I would give them.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't exactly probably be clean.
Yeah. Or nice, right?
Maybe my shirt should say something like, warning, if you act stupid, will be hit with a tuna fish. Because one of my favorite sayings is, when I encounter stupidity that I can't explain, it's just stupid for being stupid's sake. I very rarely have the patience for it. So I just like, man, I wish I could slap you with a fish. And that's
And specifically
recently in the news. Yeah, tuna, because tuna's big. Tuna's
true.
massive.
Yes.
It's it'll be hard for me to even swing. But if I get that momentum, that person's going to fly. What would yours say?
Don't stand too close. Don't stand with open flame or too close to it. Contents under pressure. Just alluding that I am a big ball of gas, I think is
right. I'm not getting older. I'm leveling up.
Ooh, I like that one. That one's a good one. Yes, I may be gray, but I'm not old. There you go.
Beware. That's what mine should say. Just beware. Dot.
Yeah, just don't.
Yeah, no.
Yep. Love it. Oh, goodness.
Maybe grumpy cat on the back.
Yeah. Mine, definitely.
No in the front, grumpy cat on the back with its paws folded.
So coming or going. This is what you're getting.
Yeah. Grumpy Old Men Part 2.
Yes. Oh.
Okay. I've enjoyed this week because I finally finished The Last Kingdom, which meant my binging catch-up was done, which means I could concentrate on other things, which means I have more to report this week, and it's actually been a week of content where I found some good stuff, because I feel like the last few weeks we found some, but it's been a lot of poo.
Yeah, it has been a lot of poo.
A lot of doo-doo. But this week I was like, wow, how am I going to fit it all in? So I guess this is probably going to be on your list as well, so we should just talk about it. But The Last Kingdom, Season 5, we finished it, we binged it. You and I caught up in the space of less than a month, I think. We watched 50 episodes now, thereabouts, of The Last Kingdom. Do you want to talk about The Last Kingdom?
I would love to talk about The Last Kingdom. Yes. This 5th final season, at least of the seasons.
Yeah.
A movie coming. I thought this was a good wrap up to what we've been watching. I mean, they took some time and care to really touch on a couple of character arcs that needed to be completed. You know, they like I think about Brita, who.
Yeah, I think we can do spoilers. It's out, and anybody listening to us talking about the 5th season, you might want to skip the time code if you haven't seen any of The Last Kingdom. But as you're here, you'll probably have watched it if you're a fan.
Yeah.
Or most of it, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to get it like in every single spoiler, but at least, that's a good.
No, just talking about certain characters like Brito.
Yeah. I mean, just to watch her arc, and we knew at the end of season 4 that when she was denied death twice by Uhtred, and then she vowed revenge. I mean, that was going to be bad news. And it's so tragic to watch because them growing up together, them being in love, I mean, them being interconnected like that. And the opening scene.
You don't get much closer than they are.
No. And even though they were not together as a couple, they were still intertwined. You know what I mean? It's that.
Yeah, when he says we're bonded, it's exactly what they were.
Yeah. And I think it was powerful because you root for them as a couple, but not necessarily as a romantic couple later on. I mean, it's just more of the friends that
just as that bonding. If you exist in this world, I need to exist in this world. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were mentioning that opening scene.
Oh my gosh. Well, so first off, just in Iceland, I mean, how beautiful is that and how haunting.
Such a cool opening scene. Yeah.
It really was. No, I do have questions about how did she get there? And, you know, because I mean, and that plays into my ignorance
she swam.
of she's pregnant too, or with a child, but, my ignorance of like the history and geography at the time, because, you know, they're called Danes. So from Denmark and, Sweden, Norway ish, that area there, I don't necessarily, I don't think about Iceland being within that, but so I don't know. I don't know how she got there, but that became unimportant, really. I mean, she just united a bunch of warriors and they sailed to England to take over. And
well, apparently from Lerwick, Iceland takes around 30 hours to Aberdeen, Lerwick, and the Northlick ferries via the ferries. So in their boats, probably a week.
It's a good amount of time
because the ferry's got engines and just goes. Yeah.
But
thanks, Google.
Yeah, there we go. But like, so going with Brita, I mean, just to watch her rage come through and her through the episodes that we get to see her in, to then it coming to that head where her and Uhtred fight. And you see at one point where she becomes overpowered. But I think there's also a point to her where she she gives up a little bit. I mean, you see her crying, and he's crying too, because he's just, I mean, you see the flashbacks and him going through what he, all of just working through.
So well edited, that bit.
Wasn't that? I mean, it was just, it drew you in, and it played back on all of the things that we had seen before, to really establish and remind you of this. This is not just some quick little scuffle that they're doing. And I mean, this is a lifelong ups and downs, and he doesn't want to kill her. She wants to die, but you see her still defending herself too. And so there's that.
Yeah.
And go for it. Man
alive. Yeah. So if you remember in Game of Thrones, there's the bit with Jon Snow and the woman he loves, the red hair. Mm-hmm. And there's this big fight, and there's this arrow that comes from the girl that thinks she's doing good. And the look of confusion on his face from the woman he loves, and her character was awesome. I loved that character.
Yes.
Man, she was so good. And then to see the girl who's like, yeah, I've defeated, an enemy. Like, how you don't know where to throw your emotions or what emotion you should have. Very clever writing, and I equate that to like this moment. I just didn't know how to feel, because I love both characters. I both want them to live. But there's been so much history and hurt, through the 5 seasons, that you totally understand them wanting to take each other out.
Yeah.
But the fact that you've come to this part now, it's just like, it's so tragic. But in season 5, it's just one of the many tragedies that I just thought, how much can you make your audience go through? Because Uhtred is always going to be targeted. And then his enemies are always going to target his families. And so when you see his first son and what has happened to his, I was just like, never in a million years did I think that was going to be a thing in this show. Mm-mm. And I was like, that is harsh. But then you see the type of temperament, well, I guess stock that he breeds, because both of his kids, his daughter, who she ends up being with, who also ends up having a tragic marriage. This leads into him being cursed, right?
Yeah.
And his son, it does. You feel like everybody that I'm surrounded with either gets maimed or dies in some horrible way. I continued thinking Uhtred of no Bebendir, or Bourbondir?
Bebenberg.
Because Bebenberg. I said bourbon beer in my review, and I just stuck with it.
There you go.
I thought bourbon and beer. Why not?
There you
go. But skipping to the end, the fruition, the full circle, it feels like from episode 1, the place of home that he's always been trying to get back to the 3 episodes that are leading up to the big climatic battle at the last episode, which is awesome. And then we get flashbacks of editing, of they're bringing us all that emotion and flames. Like, never before have I hated fire so much in my life. Ever. You can't do that.
Yeah. Him refusing to go. I mean, you get that. You know what I mean? It's basically, I'm done. Yeah. You know what? Screw it.
Yeah. I was with him. Yeah. I was like, yeah, fair enough, dude.
Yeah. You've worked so hard your entire life. I mean, really, your entire life to get to this point. And then to be like, oh, okay, no, yeah, screw it. I'm not going anywhere.
But if I was going to be a believer of their gods, it was at that point with the clouds. I was like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, it was. It made me feel. It put a smile on my face, because we needed some happiness. We needed a little bit.
We needed something, for sure.
Because we've seen moments of peace within Uhtred's life, but most of that happens between seasons where we don't actually get to see it. Like between.
Yeah, because this season kind of starts in peace with Uhtred, and the land he's protecting, his families and his men seem to be fairly happy, and you're like, oh, this is horrible. I hate it when they show his peace, because I know what's coming.
Exactly. And that's what he's been searching for. I mean, really his entire time, because you think about him with Gisela, and we see that I mean, he's got kids, obviously we see the older kids now, but in between, I think it's 3 and 4 or something like that, where they there is a time where he has been living for a couple of years just at peace, just hanging out, going about his thing. And I'm so glad that when the series ends, he's alive to experience that peace. The peace doesn't come just from being dead, because so many times I think we see in shows or movies that the peace is only just that they were able to die and not have to go through any more turmoil.
Yeah, finally, I'm at peace. Yeah, that means because I'm not breathing anymore. It's like, that's not peace. That's just you dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yay.
There was one line that annoyed me. Where Uhtred goes, you mean I could have been sneaking in here for the past couple of years when I could have been with you? Because there's this gate that is hidden from all public knowledge. Nobody except her seems to know about it. And this is, at the moment in time, he's the love of his life. Now, if you think about the way that history could have changed, if he had been there from the beginning and they decided the front face is she's going to be this person who's absent, so they would never ever be able to be wed, any of that. But behind the scenes, they can have some semblance of happiness. Once a couple of months, he visits her and they spend some time together. He would have seen what was going on with her. He could have gotten her to a person much earlier, and that would have changed it. And then they probably could have spent some time together, and she would have been healthier. And all the other kind of war stuff that spirals on from her having to change all that. You're just like one little moment. And so it's a throwaway joke line. But I was thinking, no, what?
Yeah. I wanted them to work so bad. I mean, I think that's the beauty of the show, that it is created. And it was funny. My wife was like, yeah, he just kind of sleeps his way through Europe, doesn't he? And I'm like, well, yeah. How many wives did he actually?
Every season, he kind of has a new woman.
Yeah.
Even one season, he has a wife, but then chooses another woman.
Yeah, anyway. But I love how they made us want that relationship to work, and it
yes.
Then to add the tragedy within that, where it just and they accelerate it, or they've brought it up because what's happened in between season 4 and season 5 we just haven't seen, so a large chunk of time has passed, and so what feels like her disease has accelerated through that to then get her to the end point, and it's like, oh, come on, we barely had, but the incredible drama and the vacuum of power that sets up, I mean, it allows for several antagonists. They may not be villains necessarily. There's certainly one villain, but a couple of the antagonists really rise up within this, and it just
I really wanted one to die, but just kept not.
Is this Ethelhelm, the old dude?
Yeah.
Okay, so this falls within spoilers here. I'm actually mad at how he dies.
It's too easy.
He kills himself. He doesn't.
Yeah. There's no retribution.
No, for the massive amount of chaos and bloodshed that he has caused. That
it was a coward's way out.
Oh, totally.
But seems accurate for his character.
Absolutely. No, it does. It really does. But it just doesn't feel satisfying. I wanted
not at all.
I wanted Edward to take his head. I wanted Uhtred to take his head. I wanted, good grief, anybody else, to be able to do that. And
because, like in Game of Thrones, where we have the young king
Joffrey,
that everybody wanted to die.
Gosh, Joffrey. Yes.
But the way he died was satisfying, and it was from the family as well. The poison and the. That was everybody. I know everybody around the world, as we're all watching via Zeitgeist. We're all like, yeah,
finally! It took what the heck? Why it took so long? Yeah, it's like they killed Umbridge.
Yeah. But in this one, he's just like, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you're, come on.
Yeah.
I wanted to see you like flayed or something.
Yeah, because
he really did. He is the reason why they're at war. So much damage.
So much. I mean, because even like Sigtrygr, that one hurt.
Seriously, I mean, didn't I text you this week saying I love this new Viking? Yeah. He's so cool.
Which is why, you know, I've try as I might, don't get attached to anybody. You know,
any new characters for sure as well.
Oh yeah, no, but
you're new. Sorry, you haven't been established as a main protagonist, and even if you're a main protagonist, last season, all bets are off.
Well, and Osfirth, is that his name? The warrior monk, dude. Come on,
yeah.
His progression of watching him go from, you know, when he first stabs the guy who'd already been wounded in like season 3 or whatever, and Uhtred being like, that's not your kill, that is not honorable, you don't get to do that, give me your sword, you know, and he takes it away, to him full on fighting and becoming this warrior. It broke my heart. It was, and my wife,
and then I was,
go ahead.
Karen?
My wife and I were,
I was going to say,
please go ahead.
No, you. No, you. Your wife said what?
Oh, we were watching in different locations, and I was a little bit ahead of her, and she's like, Finan better not die, because that is like one of our favorite characters, you know. And I'm like, just quiet, because I know he's not, but I don't want to ruin any suspense or anything with that.
Right.
But
yeah. Tell me, damn it.
Yeah, no, it was like, because it was, I didn't want Finan. Every time there was a battle, I'm like, where's Finan? Where is he? Is he okay? Yeah. Is he, you know, because I can't do it. What were you going to say?
Both priests actually have a really great arc from the knight priest, who, come on, I felt like that was an unnecessary death. She didn't need to kill him in the end. He was traveling with her. He had told her partially the truth, not all the truth, and she felt that was a betrayal. But I thought that was a weird reaction as well, just to kill him. I guess she's so broken in herself that anybody that comes near her, she's killing all.
Yeah, I think that's why, to continue to illustrate how she's not whole, you know, that she is still so damaged in that, and she's, you know, but then how much more powerful it becomes when Uhtred gets to say, I'm sorry and I forgive you, and she gets to say, I'm sorry, and that, you know, that whole redemption arc within that very...
I mean, they could have lived together and battled together, and they could have gone to his home, and she could have lived there forever. Yeah. Except the writers want to punish us.
Every single time.
Now, talking about this season and the writing, I had a look at your review, and which was great, and then I checked the comments, and everybody seems pretty happy, like this is a good season. But in my comments, I seem to have gotten the other end of where people are saying this is not the best, it's a waste, it's also woke, because we had a couple of colored multicultural people, so we had white, black. I was like, yeah, but we did get that back then. That wasn't unusual. Yeah. Yeah. So I was trying to think, is that just me? Was it a little bit woke? Was the writing not good? Because it may be my favorite season because of how it wraps everything up, and the action is like great. The emotion is there, but I had quite a few comments of people saying, "Yeah, this wasn't great. I stopped watching at episode 2."
Really, I didn't pick up on any of that. I mean, like I got a lot of those comments when we watched Vikings Valhalla. You know, because they were like, you know, people just didn't like the changes to the dramatization of history. Okay, whatever.
Right.
But this, though, I felt like the story or the writing didn't even change, that it still maintained the same feel, you know, from message standpoint and everything else. I mean, really the only thing that I thought was more powerful this time as far as storytelling was a redemption arc, you know, for different characters, that which we've seen little bits here and there throughout the series, but this one was the biggest, you know, where you get to see these characters who are so deeply flawed, get to come to grips with their flaws and either accept them and change, or to just go forward and meet whatever misery or death that they get.
It really felt like they had brought the group back together as well. So some of the characters that we thought may not even have been in this season, we could have had an individual flash of that character or a number of characters, but they brought them all together, and it just felt like, oh yeah, this is really kind of paying homage to all of their journeys, which is tough to do when you have an arc that you need to follow through, but have all these threads that you need to pull on and then make the story still coherent. Yeah, I thought it was great.
So how did you feel? Like, I was thrilled that they brought Heston back. I was absolutely thrilled that Hild was back in. But did it hurt you when Heston got his end?
No.
No?
No.
Really? Oh, see.
I think he thought that he was going to get away with it, and then he would have got more riches when he survived, because he'd finally said, oh yeah, I'm on your side. I feel like there's something we're missing between him and the nun, the warrior nun, because the fact that she asked him, like, what are you going to do here? I'm watching you. And she watched as if he was going to betray. And then the look of, wow, okay, there's honor there, because he wouldn't. And for all intents and purposes, he's been with Uhtred as well, like almost from the beginning. Whether it's fighting him or betraying him or betraying each other, or you steal my kids, I'm going to steal your kids. They've had an interesting journey. So he's always out for himself, which is why it makes it an interesting writing choice to make him go, you know what? Even with all the riches I have now, I'm going to say, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
And I think that does show a little bit of his growth within there, because we get the line from Hild who tells Uhtred that he had the opportunity to betray you and he didn't, and so I think because we've watched him, even in season 4 where he talked about, you know what, I'm old, I'm fat, I don't want to fight anymore. I just want women and riches and just to enjoy the land, you know what I mean?
And so he finds his path, though, because he becomes a trader.
Exactly.
Which is a brilliant thing for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. He's still not necessarily the most stand-up or upright of, morally upright of people there, but to watch him, like, it did hurt me because I saw that change in him, and him, while he's going to do whatever he can to get out of this situation, short of betraying Uhtred, which normally before he would have just,
betrayed.
Flipped in an instant.
Uhtred's here, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Save his skin, and this way he doesn't. And so I don't know. It just, I was bummed, and it got me. Like, I was so hooked. Like, that's where, like, I didn't expect him also to meet an end like that, and so it was, but. I wish we would have gotten a little bit more, and maybe it will come in the movie. But when Hild, and I couldn't even remember this because it had been so brief in the series, and then just watching everything together was a little bit jumbled in my mind. But people in the comments had reinforced this. But when we watch Hild coming to the castle, and she's bringing this little boy with her, Osbert, which is Uhtred's youngest son, the one that was born when Gisela died. We've never seen him. He had been taken away and basically to be cared for and raised by Hild. And so, because at first I'm like, well, Osbert, that's his name, but I don't remember where, did he have another kid? When did he? And it completely left my brain. So
it's a few seasons ago.
Yeah. And so it's curious to see what will they do in the movie, because it's a standalone movie, but it's also, I think, to take the story further. And so I don't know, will it be Uhtred in his later years?
I don't know that they'll do anything with that unless they just say this is Uhtred's son, and it's been a few years. Because when I was reading the write-up about the movie, it's going to be attainable for people that haven't seen the season. seasons, so you could watch it as a standalone and not have watched the 5 seasons. So, thinking about that line, it's the movie is going to have a tough time being good, because how do you then take up the wrap up? You go from there. It's based on 3 books, but I think they're only doing 2 of the 3. One story, and then still trying to pay homage to the fans, the characters, but have new people come in and watch. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, that's a hurdle, because it's not like they're doing a prequel. Like, think back to Kingdom Ashen of the North, which is it's a standalone movie that gives you the prequel stuff that then catapults you into the series.
Yeah, it really works.
Yeah. This I don't
clever. It's great.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
We have to see. Yeah. Well, but being that we've spoken for half an hour on the Kingdom, you can see how much we enjoyed it.
Yes.
Should we get into some of the other content that we enjoyed this week? So what have you got going on?
Okay, so Upload Season 2 came out. It's an Amazon series. It's created by Greg Daniels, who did The Office, I think, and even Parks and Rec. Yep. But he also did that Netflix show, Space Force, which, if I have to choose, I'm watching Upload every time over Space Force.
Yeah, absolutely.
This season, I enjoyed this season a lot. When it's only 7 episodes versus the 10 that we got before. Now, I understand, sure, the first season, they're taking a lot of time to establish what actually is going on. So we need more of this backstory. They're introducing us to all these characters. In season 2, we can basically just dive right into the story and continue on. But I got to tell you, when episode 7 ended, I thought, because I had early screeners for that, I thought maybe they just didn't give me all of them. It felt...
I checked as well. I had to Google. I went to like how many episodes it's got, some of the air dates, and I was like, oh, there's only 7.
Because it didn't feel like it ended kind of on a cliffhanger-ish, but it didn't feel like...
It wasn't even kind of... That ending pissed me off, Chris. You can't leave it like that. Is sucky. That's a sucky ending.
Well, and it's like, but it didn't feel like the end of a season, did it?
Exactly. That's why it's sucky. It's not really I see what you're saying. It's not really a cliffhanger, but it just feels like it didn't finish.
Yeah.
There should be more episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love the story arc that they're doing. I love the
absolutely
all of these types of things, but the ending of that's what got me. But aside from that part, I loved the character journeys that were going on. You have Nathan, played by Robbie Amell, who he's still trying to searching his mystery of who killed me, why did they kill me, what really went on. You have Ingrid, his ex-girlfriend, who uploads for him at the end of season 1, and now she's just there, and I love the exasperation that's on his face through most of it, because he doesn't she's his ex-girlfriend because they're done, and he's moved on, and he's pursuing Andy Allo's Nora, which that's a bittersweet relationship, because with Nathan being uploaded,
digital.
Yeah, exactly. It can't.
She is real, but he can't physically touch her.
Yeah, well, they can touch in the virtual world, which I guess maybe is real for him. It's bittersweet, because she will always have this dual life, whereas he only has this one. I do like some of the darker aspects that they took with this, like the whole. We learn that there is an opportunity at some point to download back into a body, but it's
you explode.
Yeah, it's temperamental. I mean, it's not very stable.
The pigeon that explodes cracked me up so much. I was just like, oh, imagine having pigeon guts on your face.
Oh my gosh, because
that is the worst.
Well, and they don't have a big head, but the pressure that comes from such a small head, just But did you enjoy the season?
No, I loved it. Probably as much as season 1. His best friend's dreams probably highlight, and And then the fact that they force his dreams to be PG. So then he's learning stuff, and at first he's irritated with it, but then he starts loving it. And like when he gets a spelling word right, he's like, woohoo! Yeah, high fives all round. Did you happen to watch the end credit scene? Because there's credits, and then there's an end credit scene.
Is that in episode 7?
And it's 7? Him.
Or
yeah, at the end of episode 7.
No, I didn't.
There's a like. Yeah, it says, so if you go through the credits, there is a bit of him with a dream sequence, which is just a great way to wrap it up. Well, so for those that didn't think, well, this is definitely not the type of series that would have an end credit, there is one for you to go and have a look at, which is worth doing so. I really liked the Robin Hood episode. I don't know, there was something about it. I thought it was so much fun. He has his little gadget, Nathan, and he's able to steal from the rich and give to like the black and white people that, can't move. They get stuck. And
the 2 gigs.
Yes, the 2 gigs. I really like that whole, I thought they were going to play more with that maybe there was going to be some sort of uprising of the 2 gigs and give them some sort of semblance of actually a normal life. Because if you think about it, it's so harsh. If that is actually a digital you, and we're not going to get into what a soul is and stuff, then that is horrible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's terrible. So, like, they could do something with that. Like, once he's figured out who did kill him, and that's part of the story, and then he could travel from different various heavens, I guess.
Well, that's kind of
I imagine...
Go for it.
I was going to say, I imagine that if they're going to do the thing where he gets a body, but he only has a certain amount of time, he's going to have to upload again. So before the time runs out, I think it's going to be like the bittersweet thing where he gets to spend time. He's seen what the relationship could have been, but now he's about to die, so he's going to upload. We already saw him with like a blood nose, so we know time is ticking. So then it's going to be the adventures of him leading a resistance in the upload.
Yeah, well, because his company or his thing was the Freon, right? So that where basically it's equal opportunity. So it didn't matter on your money. You could just upload into this oasis and live on in the digital space. And that's what, but then you have Lakeview, which is the elite. I'm curious if, are they all connected? Is it like, so if you go into Freon, you can then move around into Lakeview if you could, get through the hedge or whatever? Or would you still be able to see the 2 gigs? Or how do the 2 gigs exist? Are they only within the Lakeview world?
I'm guessing it's all coding. And if you create yourself a backdoor within that structure, and you're Neo, maybe you can get through. Like with that pen, he's almost Neo, with what you can do. Can we just talk about how creepy the babies are? The digital baby.
And yet it works so well, right? I mean, that CGI is wrong on every level. And but exactly how it's supposed to be. Oh. Dude, I love that they brought the character in as real life, though, too.
Oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming.
No.
Yeah. And he's a great character. He's just off the wall, really dry, doesn't know that he's actually being funny sort of character.
Yeah. But the baby, you're right. Oh, that is nightmare fuel at times. That's just, it's... I loved the sequences where we get to see the other side of Ingrid. It actually, this season made me feel more for her. Like she's not the most likable of characters. She's very bristly.
No, she's easy to hate.
Yeah.
But once you see her family, you kind of understand why.
Yeah. Yeah. And she became very sympathetic in that. And, her, while she rubbed Nathan wrong and she treated him in a way that they just didn't click, which is then can be attributed to her whole upbringing. But her then struggling to make connection, I thought was funny.
Saying that though, at the end, she's totally growing herself a new Nathan body with the DNA strand.
Well, yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
So she's going to have a copy of him and have the baby.
Well, and I think because that shows just some of her her obsessiveness and maybe deep grief too. Maybe, the inability to let go and move on, which
so she needs some psychotherapy, maybe.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, it is a sad situation.
Electrotherapy, maybe?
I don't know. I think that went out a while ago.
Did it?
I hope so. I don't think that actually works to fry somebody's brain.
I was reading recently how many states still have the death penalty.
Oh, yeah.
And I was shocked. It's like half, Chris, if not more.
Well, I don't know if California has gotten officially rid of the death penalty, but it is not used now. There is a moratorium on it. So
right. On that note, do you want to move on and talk about the next thing?
Yes, please.
On the death penalty, the Adam Project is a Ryan Reynolds movie. It's a time travel one. We're going to be talking about time travel, our top 5 time travel movies in our Patreon this week, so check that out. But as a time travel movie, I was very pleasantly surprised. We obviously have the same director as Free Guy, and Ryan Reynolds teaming up again, which is great. I'll do a bit of entertainment news now because it links up nicely. Yeah, they're teaming up for Deadpool 3. And Sean Levy wants to do a Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman buddy movie. A buddy whatever
Yes,
movie.
Please. Take my money now.
Yes, please. So that's all very exciting. It's officially still R-rated, Deadpool 3. Sean Levy's directing. They've got their writers from the first 2 still on board. So it's all looking like it's going to be a proper Deadpool movie. So I'm very excited about that. But the Adam Project, I think, talking about like buddy stuff, the young kid is basically Ryan Reynolds, right? It's so well cast that, and I think some people had an issue with this, like a kid wouldn't talk about this, but they established that in the movie with one line. Your kid, he's a strange kid. Yeah. So once you understand he's a strange kid, you start understanding this is how he responds to things. He also talks a certain way. He's snappy. The way he is partly to do with his dad, who's a genius, who created time travel. Also, he's lost his dad for over a year, so there's all that going on. But the cast itself, Jennifer Garner as well, who's brilliant. I like her in pretty much everything she's in. I think she's fantastic. I think this is the second time she's acted with Mark Ruffalo. They did a family film together.
30 going on 30.
What was the name?
Or 13 going on 30.
13 going 30. Great. Really fun. I got a lot of time for that film. Ryan Reynolds, who's fantastic. We also had Gomorrah.
Oh, yeah. Zoe Saldana.
Zoe Saldana. Incidentally, it's Deadpool, Gomorrah, Hulk.
Yes.
That'd be an interesting movie.
Yes.
I'd watch that movie. Somebody write that, please. Anyway, I thought when it worked, it was the kid and Ryan Reynolds together. Yeah. I thought their banter back and forth was so much fun to watch on screen. I also really liked the sci-fi stuff. I thought visually it was entertaining. The score was very well put together. Some of the, we just have to allow it's time travel stuff. So you just got to kind of put your time travel brain on. It's like and it's very kid friendly. So like when they're fighting, they dissipate into the atmosphere. It's like, what is actually happening there? Are they going back into their own time stream, or are they just disintegrating and you're just killing everybody? Is that what's happening? Yeah. Okay. Murder easily. Cool. And the whole big set piece at the end, I thought was fantastic. Like it really hypes up into that big hero epic moment. The lightsabers, that's not a lightsaber, it's totally a lightsaber. There were just so many references, like 80s references, which I think really worked. That Sean Levy loves doing that. If you think about the 10 episodes he directed of Stranger Things as well, he has that all in his back pocket with Free Guy, referencing, and you take that and you put it in a sci-fi movie. And I know a lot of people had issues with this film because it was like it's cheesy, it's like super heavy on the family but that's what this is. For me, the weakest part was they didn't spend more time on certain characters. So what was the point of them being there? Sort of, we needed a bit more stuff with the mom. We needed more with the wife, because when Zoe Saldana comes back, she's just there for the sake of being there, and then she's gone. And I'm like, I need to care about that character, and at the moment I don't at all. I care about the kid and Ryan Reynolds. And that was me talking for 6 minutes straight. Your turn, Chris.
I agree. So first off, Walker Scoble, I believe is how you read.
A great name.
Yeah, right. Really cool name. But that kid, I mean, he channeled Ryan Reynolds so well. And I think it's very realistic for a 12-year-old to speak like that in today's time. You know what I mean? Because they have the internet. You know what I mean? They're
exposed to all sorts of media. So if that is what is forefront in his brain, yeah. Yeah,
exactly. Had this taken place in like the early 80s, no, he probably wouldn't have spoken like that, because he would have, he would be more age appropriate or less old, maybe in that. But I mean, his timing, his delivery was so great. Excuse me. Even his eye, like his facial expressions, and the way that he would hold his eyes. I truly was watching a little Ryan Reynolds, and that was brilliant casting.
I do wonder how long they practice certain scenes together, like eating the bowl, the movements, the mimicking each other. I was just like, that's so good. It's so well done.
And I loved how it wasn't the attention to detail. Like, it wasn't the focus of a scene, like when they stab, stir, eat. And they both did it, in sync. But it wasn't, we weren't just looking at the plate. I mean, we're just watching them as they're having a conversation. And this is just something that they do, and then when they both yell at the dog, I mean, it's just these types of things. I wanted more from the story. I felt that it, for a movie that's like an hour and 45 minutes, that some parts were a little thin from just a plot point, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
But, and I totally agree with you about, needing more from like Jennifer Garner. I wanted more from her. Give her more to do.
Great. Give her more. Yeah.
Yeah, because she was awesome. And the scenes that she's in are really, really good. But I want more. The, Catherine Keener, I thought she was wonderful. But again, I thought like her motivation of just to be rich.
I don't know that I thought Catherine Keener was written as generic bad guy.
Thank you.
She could have been Sonic's bad guy. The latest Sonic movie. It's that.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Eggman.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a knock to her or her performance. It's just the way that was written just was kind of like, okay. What got me, though.
Power for the sake of me wanting power.
Yeah. Okay. Generic, whatever. I mean, it's almost like even like Rami Malek's character in No Time to Die.
Bond.
Yeah. I mean, I like you, but you're just kind of generic. I mean, it's just, but what got me in this movie, because as I'm watching it, I'm like, I'm entertained, but I'm not loving this movie. It's just, I want to like it, but it's just kind of okay. And then we get the emotion. And when we get not only the story of future and present Adam, just their dynamic and them working through their issues, of present, of him being very raw with the loss of his dad. And then you see 30 years later of still being very raw and having all of that time of trying to work through the loss of his dad.
Quite bitter. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that the conversation that they have about, no, you just want to be angry. Whoa. That is like, and then to you see the dysfunction and the anger coming through between Ryan Reynolds and Mark Ruffalo. And when it's Mark Ruffalo repeating and just ignoring any of the protests that Ryan Reynolds is getting chills now. I mean, it was so powerful because you see this dad who absolutely loves his son and sees that he's seeing past the words that are being spoken and the anger and knowing what the kid is missing and he just like, I mean, as a dad, I tear up because it was
a great moment.
Oh my gosh, that moment is what changed the whole trajectory of the film for me. A whole feeling of it. Because I watched it, I watched it one day and early, and then I watched it again because I was just like, I liked that feeling. I want to watch more of this and see it, and the deficiencies of it were still there. They didn't get knocked out. They weren't, they're present, and I didn't ignore them, but the emotion and the heart rose way up. And that's what, so then by the end of this, I'm like, I had a lot of fun. This is just a great feel-good movie that has way more heart than it deserves, or that I thought it was going to have. Not that it deserves, but just more than I thought it was going to have. And, and so when it has this powerful emotional punch like that, and the kids being willing to sacrifice, knowing what could happen, you know what I mean? That they could, these things, you could forget this, I could forget this, and them still choosing to do it because it's the right thing to do. That just very powerful there. The two things that made me chuckle, well, no, I laughed at the lightsaber part, but did you see, you probably saw 6 Underground with Ryan Reynolds, so when the giant magnet in this turns on and everybody's flying to it, all I thought was 6 Underground, where in the boat they turn on the magnet and all those people just fly through the boat, you know what I mean, to get stuck to part of it. But when young Adam lands on the catwalk and he superhero landing, it just was like that. So good. I mean, I'm so glad that they put that in there because he nailed it too. I mean, that was the thing, that it didn't come across as cheesy or weird. I mean, it was like, oh, well, this is why he says it later when he's Deadpool, and because he said it when he was a little kid.
Yeah, it's great. It's a nice little tie-in, I thought. Yeah. It did make me smile.
Yes, very good.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Do you have more?
I have one. Yeah.
Okay.
We watched this as a family last night. Turning Red, Disney and Pixar's.
We watched this as a family last night too.
Did you? That's cool.
We did. We all sat around watching it. Yeah.
Yeah. My oldest son and his wife came over, and we had dinner, and then we all just sat down and watched it, and it was. I loved it. It was really good. I mean, I found myself hating the mom for a large portion of this. I mean, I just did not like her overbearingness, and but you also see, I mean, you see the concern and the care in there, and that frustration, and just that whole dynamic. But the animation, always. I mean, come on,
beautiful. I mean, Pixar.
Yeah, exactly. I would be, the only thing really that should be said is if it didn't meet that expectation, if it wasn't so stellar, because there were a couple of moments where it was the dad cooking dinner, and before it shows his hand, I was like, what? Is that real?
It's so good. That bit is probably the best animation of the whole movie, is the cooking bit. But does that surprise you, considering it's the creative team behind About?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, but yeah, I was like, wait,
that was spectacular.
Yeah, the lighting, everything. I mean, it was really good. So, but yeah, I thought it was a fun movie. I loved some of like the kaiju references, towards the end, and just the way that the culmination happens. And I love that there is that big redemption arc for so many of the characters at the end. And I think that's what what really makes it, because you watch just mistakes maybe in relationships, and because relationships and emotions are messy, I mean, people say things, and whether they mean them the way that they come out or however that is, feelings get hurt, things get said, all of these things. And so you watch, and especially as a teenager, in that relationship with your parents is how could be contentious, and you feel like nobody understands you, and your hormones are raging. Yeah.
Yeah, we loved it. We also watched half of the making of, which is on there on Disney Plus now. It's a 15-minute doc. So you start understanding where the creative minds were thinking about the project, and it actually adds a lot more weight when you start realizing that it's very personal storyline. It's a lot what happened to them when they were young. It's a whole female team, I believe, of the director, the producer, the writer. It's the first time that Pixar's done that. So they really tap into what it feels like to be a teenager when you're young. Your hormones are flying all over the place, and you're now, as she describes it, you suddenly becoming hairy, and you don't understand why. And so the red panda is you smell. The red is obviously a very reminiscence of a woman becoming a woman, and so the red panda is that thing. But then they're also adding the culture from where they're from, because obviously that. And then also Canadian, because it just happens to fit in with the Canadian flag. And so they put all those things and they made this movie. And man, it was fun. It a lot of people are saying, this is so different from Pixar. And it is. It's a different way of looking at a story. It reminded me a lot of Netflix's or Sony Pictures, The Mitchells. There was some vibrancy and craziness with the family that I thought maybe that they were trying to tap in, especially with the friends. I was going to say, I do wonder if someone had seen The Mitchells, but they began working on this story in 2018. So it's like way back when. It's a big love project. They were able to do this from their short bio, which is that food, that one where the mother ends up eating her son, which always scared the crap out of me. I was like, what is this? Love the panda, want to cuddle the panda. I think I'm that one young girl that says, please can you turn into the panda so I can just so fluffy. Yes, exactly. I thought they nailed the friends. I thought the friends were a highlight for me. They were great. Like there's one remark, she comes in and someone's teasing the main protagonist and her friends immediately, but so is your face. I was like, that's so real. That's exactly how friends would cover you, and true friends, they do that. So yeah, a lot of fun. Great performance. It was a nice surprise because I wasn't sure what to expect. I was a little bit worried because normally Pixar do get a release. Cinemas are open here in the UK at least, and this went straight onto Disney Plus. They didn't even do their
premium
pay
access.
For it.
Yeah.
Just here it is. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Let's check it out. And it was good.
Yeah, last night before we watched it, I watched the trailer like for the first time. Like I had seen bits and pieces of it, but I had never listened to the trailer, and I watched the whole trailer and I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool. There's little pieces that stand out to me. I mean, like that are subtle, but yet so hilarious. Like when the first time that she goes to school after turning into the panda, and her friends mention like, you smell, and then the other friend hands her deodorant, and so first she puts it on her armpits, but then the whole over the face and on the neck and everything, just you know what I mean, like being so self-conscious as a young teenager of like, oh gosh, I smell. Do I smell? Can other people smell me? I smell me. Can that does it? You know what I mean? Like all of that. And I used to work volunteer with a lot of middle school and high school kids, and there was always, every time when new 7th graders would come in excuse me, it would be like in the summertime, and we'd be out playing games and everything. We'd come into this room and it would just then begin to smell like a gym locker or a locker room, and having to tell the kids every time, if you do not already, you need to talk to your parents about deodorant, because you all stink. You know, you may not have been totally hitting puberty yet. I don't know. I don't care. You smell. And so, you know what I mean? And that always just, it pops into my head like that of watching her do that. There was, I loved how the color combinations, like each of her friends was a different color. Not their skin, but their outfit. You know what I mean? So when one
their
was
identity,
green, one was all green. You know, one was all this pinkish purple, one was all yellowish or earth tone, you know, and just all of those working really well together. And I love that they, you know, so they make Mei red. You know, that's her thing. And just so that they were able to separate these out, but not make them, I don't know, from a visual standpoint, it was just, I like that. I like when they can, you know, they separate, make it as a characteristic, but yet don't necessarily call it out like that. I mean, because even the mom was mostly like those dark jade colors and, you know, shiny. Her little, because she was the littlest one, I think she was a Korean friend who was so intense. Every time. I loved that character because she's just, I mean, it was
so over the top. Yeah.
Well, there was one time I think that she said something normal and then it was like, well, that doesn't really, what? I don't really like it. And then right back into like, like, okay, cool. That's what I like. There we go. But yeah, a good surprise.
Yeah. Very good surprise. Okay. So I'm going to read you some comments from a review I did from the title I'm going to talk about now.
Okay.
I just finished all the episodes. This is from Park Jimin. I just finished all the episodes of this new anime. This series successfully making me cry every minute throughout the episodes. The story itself brings out happiness, but sad and dark as well. I just finished. This is from Zayn Rasid. I just finished episodes up to episode 5 and Phew. The emotional roller coaster that I experienced watching this anime. The tissue episode made my heart sank. And let's do a third one. I will choose Sonny Suba. Best anime so far I have seen in 2022. And believe me when I say best. Can't even explain my emotions I felt during every episode I watched. I love the author shows the viewpoint from a child. So this is called Kotaro wa Hitori Gurashi, which is Totaro Lives Alone. It's a new Netflix anime. It's 10 episodes, and it's about a 4-year-old that comes in an apartment and lives next to a broke manga artist. And this 4-year-old is highly intelligent, speaks in the language of the feudal lords because their favorite program on TV is a hero about a young feudal lord that speaks everybody like really proper language, old school, and that's what he's put on around to surround himself with the protective nature of using language as a yes sir, thank you sir, no ma'am, thank you for your time, that kind of speak. You'd have to watch it to understand exactly what the feudal lord language is like. Okay, so this is an anime that I would hold up as an example to people that say to me, and I still get it today, you're a grown man, why do you watch animations or cartoons or anime? And this is when I'll be like, because you don't get story quite like this. And I mean, maybe I could just say Toy Story 3, there are emotional bits in that what I think makes most people cry. There are Pixar movies, Disney movies, there are moments. But I think anime has a way to really emotionally engage certain anime because it's generally classed, if it's a good story, you know it's going to be sad and it's going to be dark. When you look at the thumbnail for this anime, it looks like it's catered for 4-year-olds. It's bright, vibrant color, young little kid on it, and you'll be thinking, yeah, this is not going to be for me. And people just scroll past it. The thing is, in every single episode, there is a line that comes from Kotaro that he'll say something and it'll hit you like a Mack truck or like a gut punch. And you'll realize that this kid at the age of 4 has experienced so much life already. You're wondering why he's living alone by himself, why he speaks like he does, why when he arrives at the apartment, he goes and introduces himself to all his neighbors with a box of tissues. And like, this is like housewarming. Here you go, here's tissues. When you find out why he does that, you're gonna cry. Every episode, I was so surprised. Every single episode hit me. Like, I was just, and the more I watched, the more you fall in love with the character, but the more you love the neighbors as well, because they take it upon themselves to kind of look after this kid. So like in the first episode, the broke manga artist ends up taking the kid to a bathhouse because these apartments don't have baths or showers. So apparently it is normal, so everybody goes to a bathhouse. And then there's this one scene where they're sitting next to each other, and the kid's like, he's got a shower cap on, and he's like, my eyes. And the manga artist like grumpy, like, well, what's the use of the shower cap then? And he sprays him off, and then he sits behind him and he starts washing his hair, and he's like, excuse me, sir, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm washing your hair. He said, weren't you having trouble with it? He said, yes, but it's been a very long time since somebody's washed my hair for me. And you're realizing at the age of 4, if he's saying that, what's happened to in his life. And then it just carries on. And then there's quirkiness, like all the anime stuff that you should have in an anime is there. The neighbors are like ridiculous characters. But what's interesting is that the more they spend time with Kotaro, the better people they become. And so like this struggling manga artist becomes a thriving artist and gets his life sorted out. This woman that works at a club sorts her life out. Yeah, it's just the person who Kotaro is who we should all try to be more like. You ever watch The West Wing and you go, I wish people that run countries were the same as the president in The West Wing. You know, it has that sort of impact. I forced my son to watch it, and he was like, you shouldn't have told me to watch this, because it was like 10 at night and then 1 o'clock in the morning game, and I was like, damn it. Yeah, it was an amazing surprise.
I looked up the you know, some of the photos, and yeah, you're right, the poster, like the thumbnail for it, I would never think that was like so emotionally deep of it. I mean, this doesn't look, this looks really like it's like that it is made for a very, very young audience, and that so any adult or anybody, even teenagers, would be like, nope, moving on.
Yeah. But then look at the certificate, TV-14. You're like, what?
Yeah. And 10 episodes, are they all about a half an hour each-ish, 25 minutes, something like that?
Yeah, about that.
All right.
Very easy to get through.
I may have to check this out.
Bring tissues.
I might need something lighthearted first, you know? I mean,
it is lighthearted in places, and you will laugh because it's funny.
Oh, mm-hmm.
But then the line comes from Kotaro, and you're just like, oh my goodness, no, I can't handle that. That's too much. It sounds like it is a bingeable show because it's just so engaging, and you just become so invested in the characters. Once you start, you'll want to know what's going to happen. There's not like a massive arc, except with like where the parents are. That's kind of the arc. But it's really just like a day in the life of. And so Kotaro goes around, how does Kotaro cook food for himself? And when Kotaro cook food for himself, why does he cook so much? Or what does he do all day? Or how does he get himself to school? Or what are the neighbors going to do about this young kid living by himself? Is that okay? You know, everything that you do in your life, then think about how a 4-year-old does that himself.
Which I don't even, I would, if I were that 4-year-old, I would die.
That'd be me done.
Yeah, done instantly.
I could barely string sentences together at 4.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my goodness. So, that's good. Now, from even though it's bingeable, do you need emotionally? Do you need to take a break while watching it, or is it enough where it's lighthearted and cute mixed with some really great heartfelt stuff and it's balanced?
I think it's going to depend on what you've gone through in your own life.
Okay.
So for me, there was some things that really resonated, and then there were other things that I emotionally resonated with but hadn't experienced myself. It will also depend on your age, your upbringing, your culture. There's some people that have said in the comments of mine, like, yeah, this is a rife thing in my country. And you're like, yeah, this is going to mean so much more. You know, some people in the comments have said every single episodes they were in tears. That wasn't me.
Okay.
But I was like, oh, that hurt. Like, you know, when you feel a line, you're like, yeah, okay. So it depends as user. I think you gauge it. You're like, in the first 3 episodes, if you're still going on, you're fine, and I think you're going to be fine. If you need to take a break and watch like Dodgeball or maybe Seven for something more lighthearted, then go for it.
Those are 2 very different genres.
Seven
right
for
there.
Something that's lighter than this.
Yes. Oh goodness.
What's in the box?
Come on.
I do have one more that I quickly just want to mention. I haven't watched the whole season because the whole season's not out. I don't have screeners for it, but I have watched the first 2 episodes, and the third one comes out tomorrow, and I'm loving this. I'm so hooked. It's called Shining Vale. Have you heard anything about this?
I have heard of it, and I can't remember what network it's on. Oh, it's on Stars, right?
Stars, yeah.
We actually subscribed to Stars so I could watch this.
Oh my gosh, you stick this on, man. This is good. This is really fun. This is a really mix. Okay, so the synopsis reads, a family moves to a small town into a house in which terrible atrocities have taken place, but no one seems to notice except for Pat, who's convinced she's either depressed or possessed. Turns out the symptoms are exactly the same. So I resonated from this right at the beginning because she's a struggling writer. She's written one book that was really well received, and she's been on a retainer ever since. They're waiting for her next book, but it's been years. And now her author people are saying, you best get us the first chapter of your next book, otherwise we're going to drop you as a client. And she's like, and then you have to pay back the stipend they gave her, like as a extra,
the advance.
The advance, yeah. And it's like, damn it, they've poured all their money into buying this really cool, massive house that nobody's bought for some reason. And this house is classic. The what do you call those films?
Gothic?
Yeah, like a gothic.
Okay.
I'm trying to think about Netflix have had a few series recently.
The
heels
like
have,
Lock and Key, or
that definitely
Haunting of Hill House.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's horror. It's more thriller, drama, comedy, and the comedy is dry. Stuff happens and it's funny rather than people telling jokes. There's a lot of jump scares that you think going to happen that don't happen, but then it scares you elsewhere. And the camera movements are really interesting. It's only half an hour, so it's not like you expect it to be long. But so when you get half an hour shows, it kind of gives you an idea. They're quite punchy, they're quick, they get to the point. Courtney Cox is the lead. She's the writer, and her husband is it Greg Kinnear?
Greg Kinnear, yeah.
Yeah, he's great. And then they've got kids, so they've really upended their family. There's been an affair, so there's a reason that they're moving. They're trying to start again. And Greg Kinnear, I mean, it's just an example of things, the undertone of things that are happening. There is definitely stuff. So Greg, the way he deals with his anger, he's this like exuberant, over happy guy, but underneath, he's struggling with anger. And so when he gets to this house, the thing that he finds therapeutic is chopping wood. And I don't know if you ever remember that one horror, the house that like possesses the dude and he chops wood. It reminded me of that. But anyway, when you see the pile of wood, it's like 2 men tall. It's like a pyramid. And you're like, holy crap. Okay.
So he's really, really angry or bottling
really angry.
it up.
A lot of wood. It's really interesting. I really hope it goes somewhere good. It's it has the ability to be something really quite unique. Reminded me a little bit of Alan Wake. There's this game called Alan Wake, where the writer and he has to go to this town, and the book becomes a big part of the story. I feel like that could be a thing as part of this. I'm very intrigued. Interesting. In an interview that Courtney Cox did, she did the hot ones, the chicken wings. She did that, and she revealed that this is the first time she approached a director and said, "This story has been written for me." There was just something about it in the script that she just really connected with, so she went after it and got the part.
Wow.
So, I'm just flagging that up for people because I think this is one to watch.
Well, I'm glad to hear that it's good and engaging, because truly, this week we subscribed to Stars. I added one more subscription to the things that I already paid for.
Of subscriptions.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Because of this show. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It was. Yeah. My wife saw the trailer and she was like, "What is this?" And she watched it and then she showed me, and we were like, "Yeah, let's get it. Try it out and see. Hopefully, the show looks good. So I'm glad to hear that it starts off strong. So I am. My biggest bummer for me is that it's only 30 minutes long, and it's a weekly release, right?
Yeah.
See, when you have episodes that are so short,
you might as well just have it all out together. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I understand why they're trying to keep the hype up for the show as long as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When it Stars, they're probably they're trying to entice more people in so that then they can, for when Outlander season 6 comes out, you're already hooked and you're ready on the platform already. But cool.
I kind of need to start watching that.
Outlander?
Yeah.
I enjoyed the first couple of seasons. I have fallen off considerably. I'm several seasons behind.
Now that will be a binge week. 6 seasons of Outlander. Well, 5. Yeah. And then, yeah.
And then a 6th, yeah.
All right, so that's everything I've got. Have you got any more?
I don't. No, I think that's the end. Hey, thank you everybody for watching us here. Ruben with the Ruby Tuesday, me, Chris from Movies and Munchies. Do not forget, please, that the Patreon opportunity exists now. You can go to it. We've linked it in the descriptions below, but patreon.com/thebeardedones. Easy to remember, where you get all kinds of exclusive content. And there's 2 tiers that you can support us on. One gives you, obviously, all the exclusive content. The second tier gives you the opportunity to request some stuff from us. And so it gives it just one more layer of, insight, connectivity, whatever. I don't know. But we just hope you check it out, at least see if it's something for you. Each week we're adding new things to it. So to keep it, vibrant and fresh, and make your support worth it, because we truly do value that, and we thank you so much for that. We thank you for just even tuning in each week, whether you listen to us on the audio podcast, wherever you listen to that, or you watch us on YouTube. Thank you so much. Don't forget also that you can tweet at us at Best We Watched. And with that, I think we'll see you next week.